An MLS listing is usually the first point of contact that a buyer or a buyer's agent is going to have with your listing. And a lot of opinions are going to be formed probably in the first 20 or so seconds when they're looking at that listing. It's going to come down to what's written, all the information that's in there, and the photos. The other way that people are going to be interacting with this is they're going to need to search for specific parameters. For example, somebody might be looking for 3 bedrooms, a suite. Maybe they're looking for something that's newer than the year 2000. If any of those parameters are not entered incorrectly, your listing essentially becomes invisible to those people. So you are potentially missing out on buyers. Today, I want to walk through a few common MLS issues that I see frequently on MLS. What I've done is I've created an example listing. So nobody's going to make this many mistakes on MLS, I hope. So we're just going to walk through one and I'm going to show you guys all of the most common ones that I see, how to fix them. These are going to range from liability matters to ability to search for homes to just things that are going to make it a lot easier for buyers to connect with the listing. So let's dive into it. We're going to be talking about 112 Apple Drive. And the first thing we're going to be focusing on is going to be the price. So you can see up here, we're listed at $799. Now, you're probably thinking that a 7 is better than an 8. So it's better to list at 799 versus 800 on the dot. There's actually a few downsides to this, and I want to walk you through this because a lot of agents don't really realize this, but think about it from a consumer standpoint. When somebody is searching for a home, what kind of websites are they going to use? Well, a lot of the time, it's going to be realtor.ca, it's going to be Zillow, or it's going to be one of the other 100 similar websites that are out there that people can use. When you go on one of these websites, you can only search by very specific numbers. You can't put in 780 to 820. You can't do 775 to 815. It usually won't let you do that. It usually lets you do increments. At this price point, around the $800,000 mark, usually those increments are in $50,000. So for example, if you were to list at $750,000, anybody searching between 700 and 750 would see it, and anybody searching between 750 and 800 would see it. So in this particular specific example, where we're listed at 799, I'm going to show you guys with my very crude handwriting, but bear with me, how this is going to play out. So let's say that we have two options. Option the first is we list at 800,000 on the dot. And the second option is we list at 799. So we're a little bit below 800,000. Anytime that somebody's searching between 700 and 800K, they are going to see our listing if it's listed at 800. If they're searching between 750 and 850, they will see our listing at 800. And if they're searching between 800 and 850, they will also see our listing at 800. Now, if we're talking about 799, the first two instances here, yes, they will see our listing. However, the third one, they will not. So we are potentially missing out on buyers who are searching between 800 and 850. And the thing about this is that these actually could be some of our best buyers. Somebody who is searching up to 850 might be able to spend more, and as a result, may be less inclined to try to lowball your offer. So we want to make sure that your listing shows up as well as possible to as many people as possible, no matter what kind of price points they're searching. So if you're going to be on one of those price breaks, it makes a lot of sense to just go there on the dot. All right, let's go back in here and let's talk about some of the other issues that I see here. Okay, right here, we are going to have this section right here. So you can see where it says suite. No, this is a home that is suited. So there is a suite. So that means that there is a kitchen in the basement. It could be rented out by somebody. Now, in this particular instance, on MLS, it's going to say no. Let me just redo that circle there. Right there. So you can see it says suite no, because it wasn't filled out properly. If you scroll down, you'll see that the suite was added here under the basement, right under the basement section, but people don't usually search for suites this way. Usually they search with this field specifically right here. And if that says no, this listing is invisible to a ton of people who are searching specifically for homes with suites. I would say that this is even more damaging than what I was just talking about with the pricing scenario. From here, let's move on to another very common mistake that I see a lot of agents make. Depending on where you live in North America, the rules that you're using for MLS could be a little bit different. Here in Calgary, we are allowed to use any photo of the property for the main photo. This is very important. In this particular community, if you were to take a look at all the listings right now, and there is competition, this would by no means be the only home on the market at this price point. So there's a lot of competition. And so we are using a photo of the exterior, which is the same thing that every other listing is using. So we don't really stand out. We don't have any rules that say you have to use your main photo as the exterior. You're actually able to use whatever photo you want. Now, if we look at the description here, we will see that it says that there is a fully renovated kitchen. I would much prefer to use a main photo of the kitchen, especially if it's renovated, rather than the exterior, because now my listing is going to pop. And also, I'm immediately highlighting one of my best-selling features, a renovated kitchen. Every buyer wants a new kitchen. It's one of the most important things to buyers. So let's put it front and center. When people see it, they're more likely to click on it, and the listing isn't just going to get lost in the shuffle. All right, let's go back to the remarks. This is another one of my biggest pet peeves. Please do not do all caps. Just don't do it. It looks like you're yelling at me. Okay, and I don't like being yelled at. So let's stick to just regular words, not caps. Let's not do anything crazy like that. I just don't think it adds anything. All it does is just make it look a little bit silly. So let's fix that up. That one's not too tough. Let's scroll down to the garage. There's another issue right here. So we'll see here that, so this is a double garage that is attached, and we can see that the total parking here is listed as 2. Now, if we go back up, we can see immediately on the photo there is a front driveway. So there's actually 4 parking spots because you can put 2 in the garage and then you can put 2 on the front driveway. So this right here should actually be 4. Again, we're potentially missing out on buyers. Some buyers are going to be looking at searches where they're specifically setting the minimum number of cars that you can fit on the property. And why would we shoot ourselves in the foot by only putting 2? All right, let's scroll back up here and let's take a look at the possession timeline. Now, this one's a little bit subjective, but I do think that as an agent who wants to get top dollar for your clients, you want to hold as many cards close to your chest as you can. The more that you give the buyer, the more ammunition they have to try to negotiate you and try to use certain things that you want against you. One of those, for example, is going to be the possession timing. If a buyer knows that you need a very quick possession for whatever reason, they may use that against you. So a savvy agent may try to use that as a negotiation chip. So for example, they're going to start out with a lower price. You guys are going to negotiate back and forth. You know how you do sometimes. You come in with a higher price, they drop a little bit, and then you slowly try to meet somewhere where it works out for everybody. Well, a savvy agent, once you get toward the end, can use that as a bargaining chip. They'll say, Mr. Seller's agent, we actually need a longer possession. This just is not great for us. Listen, we can make this work, but we're going to need a better price. Okay, so we're going to give you guys your possession of 15 days or 30 days or whatever it is, but we really need a lower price because my clients are going to be at a disadvantage if we do it this way, and they really don't like it. So what they're essentially doing is they're turning this possession timeline into a bargaining chip that helps them reduce the price further. You don't need to disclose every single thing that your seller wants because that will get used against you. So for example, the other things are, don't tell somebody that your clients are getting divorced. Don't tell them that they already bought another house and they need to move right away because they're losing money. All of this puts you at a disadvantage when you're negotiating. Now, I don't have more specific examples in this MLS here, but I'll just talk about them. You have a fiduciary duty to look out for the best interests of your clients. And if there's something that does not have to be disclosed and disclosing it would actually be a detriment to your client, then you probably shouldn't disclose it unless there's a very good strategic reason for doing this. Okay. Those are some of the biggest things. Obviously, there's going to be quite a bit more, but the message here is really take the time to make sure that your MLS is very well dialed in and that you don't have a bunch of glaring issues because it will make a difference as to the sale price. It will make a difference as to how many people get interested into the property. And sometimes you're going to have big liability. A big one that could be the case for this is if you mislist a construction type. So for example, here in Calgary, we have wood foundations once in a while. Not a lot of homes, but some of them do. And it freaks out buyers. So if they're looking at a home and it says concrete foundation on MLS, you're representing that has concrete, they move in, they found out it's wood, that could be a big liability issue. So let's avoid that. So be very careful.